Hello. Today we're going to start a pretty special project, and it's called the Seed Festival. Now the Seed Festival is where you and your students are going to work in groups to learn how to take care of a living organism. You are going to be the parents for some baby plants. And I hope in this project we learn a lot about the life cycle of a plant. A life cycle goes on and on and on. When a small plant starts as a seed and is planted, and then water and heat and sunlight cause it to germinate or crack open, and out comes a little sprout, and that sprout starts to grow and develop new parts, and as it goes through its entire life cycle and it matures, and then it can reproduce to make more seeds, so the life cycle continues on and on and on. So today we're getting started in a project called the Seed Festival. And in your classroom you've set up a grow box. Now the grow box is a container covered in aluminum foil with a special light in it. And that light is going to provide the energy for your plants to grow. You also have a grow tub, and the grow tub is a small container that will fit your grow cup in. So we're going to plant in our grow cup, we're going to put our grow cup in our grow tub, and we're going to put our grow tubs in our grow box. So if you get the message that this is all about growing and developing. Now before we get started, I'm going to show you a short little intro to a video that I made on indianaexpeditions.org called Life Cycle. Let's check it out. I'm here at Scienceport, Gateway to Interactive Learning, one of the coolest places in the museum to learn about plant life cycles. In fact, a very special plant called Brassica Rapa, and I've got an expert that's going to help me who runs this Scienceport. Her name is Rosemary Loftus. Rosemary, what's going on here today?
Well, Rick, I've got some helpers over here. They're putting together some special seeds for me.
And this is all part of your investigation you got here?
Yes, our investigation called Biotech Cool Green Tool. You can kind of see some of our parts over here. I've got my grow kit. They're putting together some seeds.
So Rosemary, you're telling me these little bitty seeds right here make the plants?
Yes, they do.
Wow. A small seed like that must make an incredibly small plant.
Actually, they don't. Why don't I show you?
You're kidding me. All right, let's check it out.
All right, Rick, come on over here.
So this little bitty seed turns into these plants.
Exactly. So here you can see this is a plant that I grew about 4 days ago. So that little seed I put in here, and you can even see some of the sprouts starting.
And is this, how old is this one?
This is about a week later.
Now wait a minute. These are really fast. So this plant, the name of this plant is?
It's called Rapid Cycling Brassica Rapa.
So when it rapid cycle, it goes through a very quick life cycle.
Yes, its life cycle is 40 to 45 days.
So from seed to seed, 40 to 45 days.
Exactly.
That is fast. No wonder it's called rapid cycling. And so these little sprouts were 4 days ago, and this is about a week. And so I guess that this one right here.
That's 2 weeks.
Okay, I see some differences. I see sprouts, I see stems, and I imagine they have roots.
Yes.
But there's something different on these guys from here on this stage.
Well, you've got some bright yellow flowers that we don't have here on week 1.
Okay, and so what is the purpose? I know that roots hold the plant and bring up nutrients, and I know that stems give support and leaves help produce the food. What in the world does the flower do?
Well, with flowers, they have something special inside called pollen, and the pollen is actually helped to make seeds in seed pods.
And so if that's the case, the purpose of the flower is for the reproduction and for the traits to be passed to the next generation. Rosemary, I'll let you do the honors. So, wow, look at that. So after that growth and development, and after pollination and fertilization, we got seeds. Brassica Rapa, seed to seed, 45 days. This is a pretty cool investigation, Rosemary. Here's a film I made about a year and a half ago on the Seed Festival. So kids, you may be the lucky one to be the person representing your classroom at the Seed Festival. Let's check it out. We'll have speakers, a poster session, and special classes where you get to learn about crops and how Dow Agro makes crops better. And you'll have a really nice lunch, and then you will reveal how many seeds and pods that your classroom grew from all the way through the life cycle of the plant. That's pretty cool. Another thing, I was at Maplewood a couple years ago. Let me show you. Check this out. Let's look at the Maplewood. Maybe you know these students. Here's what they did.
I'm from Miss Freeland's class. My name is Layla. I'm from Miss Robinson's class. My name is Joshua, and I'm from Miss Fernandez's class.
My name is Caleb. I'm from Mrs. Mullen's class.
And we're all from Maplewood. We planted a plant called Brassica Rapa.
Brassica Rapa. Most of them grew to be 5 inches.
5 inches tall, 3 to 4 inches tall, about a foot. 5, 6 flowers on each one, 5 or 10 flowers.
We had about 22 seed pods in the whole class.
A couple of them died because some of them were too close to the light where the plants were.
It was farthest away from the light, so it survived. One of them didn't survive because it wasn't warm, so it didn't get any water in that.
Some of them got pretty good light, so we got lots of flowers.
We had about 197 whole seeds in all after harvesting.
Check it out. That's a camera that I used to film the life cycle. We shot just a little bit each day, and over about 40 days, that's what it looked like. Those are the seed pods coming out of the flowers. Pretty cool. So one thing you may not know is that I've also asked every 4th grade to grow Brassica Rapa. So you're joining 46 other classrooms doing this. And a grow box is over at our Ed Center where the people that work there are growing them. And there's a grow box at Dow AgroSciences. But I have a secret to tell you. I think you guys will do a pretty good job. You might even have more flowers and seeds than the scientists or the teachers over at the Ed Center doing this. All right, so right now you're in your group. Now, when we work in science in groups, not everybody gets to do everything all the time. You have to work together. So you have this sheet that looks like this. This is your seed festival, and your teacher will tell you what group you are, and you will mark that off. You also have a worksheet that looks like this, and let's go ahead and get our name on that. Each person has their own worksheet, and your class, your teacher's name, your school. And here's what we're going to do. The real important is today this is day 1, so go ahead and put the date right here, 2/11. And today we're going to plant and germinate seeds. Plant and germinate seeds. All right, that's pretty important for today. 2:11, plant and germinate seeds. Teachers, I would like you to take the temperature right now of your grow box. And remember, when you do your temperature, make sure you have the labels, degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sure we have 0 plant height, 0 centimeters. We have 0 flowers, and we have 0 seed pods. And if you look in this, each group looks in your packet. Let's look here on the first page where your teacher can go over this information with you, but let's look at the optimum conditions for successfully growing Brassica Rapa. Continuous fluorescent light. Light should be on 24 hours a day. Okay, check. Room temperature. Room temperature between 65 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep a thermometer near the plants and check the temperature regularly. Since these plants start out small, you probably want to put 3 dictionaries inside your grow box so we can bring the plants up close to the light. All right? And as they grow, we'll take those out. Now, almost all the information you need to grow these day by day, including what we're going to do today, is in this packet. But let's get started on planting our seeds. We're going to plant them, and then we're going to let nature take its course to germinate them. So here we go. Let's get started. we'll need a grow cup, and I'm going to show you the grow cup right here. A grow cup and a wick. And you may want to, I'd like you to draw this, the drawing on the back of this worksheet right here. See this worksheet here? Let's go on the back of that worksheet right here. So the first thing we're going to do, let me zoom in on here. First thing we're going to do is you may want to draw this grow cup. Okay, this grow cup has a little bit of a lip on it right here. And it's got a big bottom part right here. And it's got a hole in the bottom of it. See it right there? There's my hole in the bottom of it. Okay, we're going to put this wick up in this hole. And so the wick is going to come and up through here. And I'm going to put it about halfway. In fact, I might pull it. In fact, here's what I'd like you to do. Go ahead and pull it all the way up and out. So it's actually coming out the top more. So I'm going to take my wick and push it through the bottom. And I want to pull it out the top so it's sticking out the top like that. Now, you had a pellet that is dehydrated peat moss, and it looks kind of like this. And all of the water has been squeezed out of it. But your teacher soaked them about 10 minutes ago, and now they're hydrated. So this is dehydrated, no water, and that's the very same one, hydrated with water. So we're going to take our scissors. We don't need all of this at once. And so we're going to take our scissors, and I'm going to cut. There's a little bag around these, so I'm going to cut this open, cut through the bag. Don't squeeze it because we don't want it to get compressed. And it opens into two parts. Cut those apart. Okay, and we're going to use these in just a second. Here's my first one, and here's my second one. Go ahead and cut your peat pellet into two parts. Okay, so we have our grow cup, and we have our peat, and here's what I'm going to do. We're going to fill this halfway up with peat. That's what you see right here. We're going to fill this up halfway with peat, okay? So it looks like this. I'm going to take this, and if your wick comes out, put it back in like mine did. And remember, we want the wick, we're going to pull this wick down later. So let's just keep the wick pulled up. See, that's why. Do not tie a knot. Don't tape these wicks because this is how the water will go in and out of the plant. So, okay, that one's sticking out. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to gently fill that about halfway up by putting some of this in here. There you go. There we go. Now that might be too much, so I'm going to take a look at it. It might be too much in here. Let's see from the side if that's too much. Yeah, that's too much, so I'm going to take some of that out because I only want it like halfway. Now, don't squeeze this stuff down. I'm going to use my scissors, though, to gently push it down, but don't squeeze it down, okay? It's important that we don't squeeze that too much. And look, that's about halfway. And you can see from the side right here, it's halfway. And if I look from the top, it's halfway. So that's what you want to do. We have extra peat. Get it halfway. I'll let you get caught up. Do all four of them like that. So, right now the wick is sticking out. And if you can see here how the wick is sticking out above the top, what I'm going to do is gently pull this down. Be careful, gently pull this down so that that the wick is only halfway down. So look right about and stop. Stop. So now the wick is really long and it's only halfway in the cup, right to there, okay? So now what I've done is pulled this wick down, and so it's a lot longer sticking down here. So go ahead and pull your wick down so this part ends up stopping right about there, okay? We now have the grow cup about half filled with peat, with a wick for water and nutrients to come up and down. It's time we add some food pellets, or to be more scientific, they're actually nutrient fertilizer pellets. And so you have a small container that looks like this. What these are time-released food pellets, or actually fertilizer pellets, that dissolve a little bit each day, and you need 5 of them, okay, just 5. And we're going to put 5 of these inside of our grow cup. And so let me move this so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so here's my first one. I'm going to just drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they don't have to be together. It's nice that they're spread out a little bit. So go ahead and put your 5 fertilizer pellets in your grow cup. In our grow cup, we have a wick, some wet peat moss, and that acts as a place for the plant to grow. And we have 5 fertilizer pellets that dissolve slowly in the next 30-35 days. Now we need to add more peat on top, but let's not put it all the way to the top. So you have some peat left over from your pellet. Let's add that to the grow cup. And now I'm about this distance, and you can still see right here where the wick is, and there's some food pellets showing. And I have a little bit of room at the top here. The drawing will look like this. I'm going to add more peat. Almost to the top here. Almost to the top. So we got more peat at the top. Wick, peat, fertilizer pellets, more peat. Okay, so far we've got the grow cup prepared with a wick and peat and food. Now our baby is ready to get into the grow cup. And the babies are small. I mean, they're really small. Inside of this little tube here are 4 seeds. And they are small little seeds. You can see them right in there. And you don't want to drop these seeds. These seeds are pretty small. If you drop them, they're going to be hard to find. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put 1 seed, just 1, right here in the middle. I'm not going to push it down. I'm just going to drop it in the middle. Boom. And maybe you can see that if you use your eyes. Let me show you. See it right there? Okay, so I'm going to drop that seed right in the middle of my grow cup. There it is. You can see it right here. It's a little bitty seed. And then I'm going to draw that on my drawing right here. I'm going to put 1 seed, and that is my Brassica Rapa seed. And it's right here. All right, we got our seed in there. Now, what we want to make sure that is that the seed doesn't come out, so we need a seed covering. The seed covering does 2 things. It keeps the seed from falling out, and it keeps the seed moist. So we want something that's very lightweight. And so in your teacher has stuff called vermiculite. Vermiculite is a mineral, and it's natural. It looks very cool. If you look at it, it is actually pretty soft and pretty lightweight, but it soaks up water like crazy. So your teacher or you will come around, and we're just going to cover this with vermiculite. So I'm going to put just about a spoonful on here, gently. I'm covering up my seed. We don't need, maybe a little less than a spoon. And this will keep the plant, as soon as we water it, it'll keep that seed in until it starts to grow. And so the last thing I'm going to put on here is, I'm just going to cover that. It's called vermiculite. And it's a seed covering. And what that does, it soaks up with water and holds the plant. In fact, We'll let you get that vermiculite on top, and you can just fill that in. Vermiculite on top. It'll end up looking like this. So you have the vermiculite on top. All right, so the last thing we need to do is hydrate or charge your grow cup. See, the grow cup is somewhat dry. So here's my grow cup and a container of water. And I'm going to put some water in here. We should have the grow tubs filled about halfway full of water. All right? Now, what I want to do is put water, and watch this carefully. I want to drip water in the top of this. But you want to be careful when you drip water, because if you shoot water in, you will knock out the seed. You can see I'm going to use my pipette. I'm going to suck up some water, and I'm going to drip it, and watch what happens to the vermiculite. It starts to swell up and almost move. You can almost see it. So I'm dripping, I'm not shooting this out. To do this until the water drips out the bottom. So let me hold this up and let's see, you can see what I'm talking about. See, the water is, move this a little bit closer here. Here's my wick. I'm going to put another one in until I start to see the water drip out the bottom, which is right about here. Okay, so I'm putting water in the top, and now you're seeing water drop down the bottom. See that? You see that? I'm putting water in the top, and now water drips down the bottom. So once you've done that, you made sure there's nice water flow in your grow cup. See, I'm putting water, gently putting water in the top here. You don't want to shoot the water, because watch what happens when I shoot the water. Watch. See how it pushed that all up, and you could lose your seed. Okay? So you want to do that, and then this part of the grow tub has the holes, the 4 holes in it. You want to slide that down in there. So it's hanging out the bottom, hangs out the bottom, and then when you put it in here, you can see that the water will soak up into your grow tub, into your grow cup. And you place this, all 5 of those, inside your grow box. So you've got your babies ready, and now we need to make sure that they have enough heat, enough water, and enough light so that seed can start to swell right now and germinate, which means to crack open and grow. Okay, germinate means for the seed to crack open and grow. So we're going to start with our seed. We're going to add heat to it and water. When that happens, that seed starts to swell up and the seed coat kind of pops open or cracks open. And inside of the grow cup, a part of that seed comes down and a part goes up. So we got parts going down towards the earth and parts going up towards the light. Those 2 parts were wrapped up inside of the seed. They're not new. After a few days of this turns into the root, and these turn into a leaf, but these aren't true leaves. Later, more leaves will come out of the center here. And this is called a seedling. So we go from seed to seedling, where it swells up from heat and water, cracks open, starts to grow, and that's called germinate. So you've planted your seeds, and now we're going to let nature take its course and germinate these. As long as you keep the heat and the water there, we should be doing pretty good in a couple days. We've got our plants planted, and they're starting to swell up and germinate. But you know what? Let's talk about the different parts of a plant. Let's turn your worksheet over and let's start with our drawing. So the first parts of a plant. Now, each plant may be a little bit different, but let's start here with the ground. And I like starting down here. So this is a part, maybe you know what this is. It's underground, and a lot of times there's small, little bitty. And what is that, the part of the plant that's underground called? It's called the roots, or the roots. And there's 2 types. There's a tap root and a fiber root. What are 2 jobs of the roots? Now, coming up, you should start to see something here. And this is the, let's see, it's called the stem. And the stem, what are the two jobs of the stem? Now, coming off the stem is a leaf, maybe another leaf, maybe a big leaf, I don't know. Each plant's a little bit different. And so we have what we call a leaf. The very last part that I want to talk about is the flower. And there are two jobs of the flower. So go ahead and draw this plant: roots, stem, leaf, and flower. The different parts of a plant, starting with the roots that hold and anchor the plant and bring up water and nutrients, the stem that supports the plant and transports water and nutrients, the leaves that make food in the presence of sunlight and exchange gases and water, and the flower that attracts pollinators and reproduces by making seeds.
A life cycle is the stages in a living thing's life from birth to death. All plants follow a similar life cycle, although the length of time spent in each stage depends on the type of plant. Some plants take 1, 2, or even more than 2 years to complete their life cycles. The Brassica Rapa, which we will be working with, only takes a few weeks to complete its life cycle. What are the stages of a plant life cycle? Plants first develop from seeds. A seed is an embryo or tiny plant that contains all the food needed to survive until it can make its own energy from the sun. The next stage, germination, is when the plant begins growing. During growth, the plant will develop roots and stems. As plants continue to grow and develop, true leaves form until they reach maturity. At maturity, flowers develop to attract insects, which help pollinate the plant. Pollination is the same as reproduction. It brings the male and female parts of plants together. Pollination leads to fertilization and seed, embryo development. This creates more seeds that can then grow into more plants. The seeds are moved from the plant to the soil. The cycle now begins again.
Here in your packet is a drawing, a science drawing of the life cycle of Brassica Rapa. And some parts have to do with growing, which means get bigger, and some parts have to mean with developing, which means new parts. So let's take a look. You planted your seed on day 1. Now it's starting to germinate, and so coming out of that is the start of the roots, the seed coat, and the leaves and stem. Now, is this just growing? Do you see any new parts? Is it growing or developing? This is growing on day 2. Day 5, still 2 leaves, roots, still growing. Day 6, kind of the same. But look, by day 7 and 8, we have new leaves, and these leaves have veins in them. This is developing. New leaves are development. It's called a true leaf. Day 9 and day 11, we start to get flower buds. That's a development. Growth and development. The flower buds turn into flowers. The flowers develop parts called pistil and stamen. And something really cool happens because the flowers turn into seed pods. The seed pods grow. And eventually the plant dies, but the seeds pass on, fall out, and start the whole process over again. So this is a life cycle of the Brassica Rapa plant. And we need to make a drawing of the part that has to do with how the seeds are formed. Here is a model of a flower. See, the flower plays an important role in seed development, in the reproduction of the plant, so more seeds will pass on the traits of this plant. So this is a flower. I can take the petal off, some of the petals, because I'm more interested in some of these parts right here of you guys seeing. Okay, a flower, maybe a little bit different than this, but there's this part in the middle called the pistil, and then there's these stamens here that have different parts like anthers and pollen. And if we can get pollen from the stamen to touch the pistil, that piece of pollen will go in here and fertilize the embryos, and the pistil will then grow, and these will turn into seeds. So the job of the flower is to be pollinated, fertilized, and seed development. And that is our secret code today. And we're going to investigate how that happens. So if you look on your worksheet, we have P plus F equals SD. Pollinate plus fertilize equals seed development. So I'm going to go ahead and write this. Pollinate plus fertilize equals seed development. That means the seeds will develop. All right, so in order for us to do that, we need to make a drawing of parts of a flower. I'd like you to draw it also. All right, let's start with the flower parts. All right, so there's a little bit of a stem that comes up. And we're not going to get all the parts in here, but your Brassica Rapa has this part right here, which is, if we cut it in half, it's hollow, and the little embryos are in here. They're not seeds yet. They're the start of seeds. This is called the pistil. The pistil, and we can make this symbol. This is the female symbol, so that is where the seeds will develop. So this is the pistil. Now, different flowers have different arrangements, but the next part are these things that look like this. They come up. Some of them are tall, and some of them are not so tall. And I don't know exactly how many, but I know there's more than 4. And on top of all of these, put some little dots, because this is where the pollen is made. Okay? And these parts are called the stamen, S-T-A-M-E-N. And I'm going to make this symbol for male, so the stamen and the pistil are the 2 parts of the flower. Now, what we need to be able to do is if somehow the wind or a pollinator or an insect or a bee, now there's also petals here, but the petals, there's like 4 petals. The petals attract a bee or a pollinator. And there's also this nice little juice down here that smells so good and tastes like sugar water. It's called nectar. And so the flower says, hey, look at me, look at my petals, they're so pretty. And oh, by the way, smell this nice sugar water called nectar. Both of those, the petals and the nectar, are trying to get a bee or an insect to come to the flower. When they land on the flower, they get covered in pollen, because we want to pollinate this flower. To pollinate the flower, we need to get one piece of pollen to land right there. If we can get one piece of pollen to land right here, that pollen will go all the way down inside the pistil, and when it gets in here, it will fertilize. So I'm going to put F for fertilize. It will fertilize those, and then the seeds will develop. And as soon as this happens, as soon as pollen goes here, that's called pollinate, then the pollen will go down, and that's fertilize. The seed goes, don't need petals, off the petals fall. Don't need stamens, stamens are done. And what happens next is something pretty cool. What happens next is this entire part right here swells up and grows and grows and grows into a seed pod. The seeds develop into a seed pod. So the center of this flower turns into a seed pod. But I don't want you to, just because I said it and we drew the picture, I want you to observe it and see it on your own. You're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to do that because on certain days, your teacher is going to have you pollinate. You're going to be the pollinator of these flowers. Look on page 16, 17, and 18. I'm going to put a star right, 16, 17, 18. It says count and pollinate flowers. So this is what we're going to do. Pollinate plus fertilize equals seed development. On days 16, 17, and 18 is when we do pollinate, fertilize equals seed development. That's going to be a pretty important day. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I was looking through some of my magazines. I love National Geographic, and I found a story here from National Geographic from March 2011. I remembered this, and I went and got it. And this story is gold dusters. And here's a picture of a bee coming to a flower in Hawaii. And look at all these stamens right here. Check this out. Here's a buzz bee. And all these, there's the part of the pistil. All of these little dots here are pieces of pollen. Now, I don't need to tell that to everybody because some people actually are allergic to pollen. And in the springtime, when you take a deep breath, when all the flowers are getting rid of their pollen, it gets all over you. A mosquito can pollinate a flower. A wasp can pollinate a flower, or even this ant. And this ant down here is covered in pollen on his antenna, his legs, and all through his body. So why do these insects come to the plants? To get a free drink of sugar water. In fact, we need insects. Without bees and such, all these crops would be in big trouble. Almonds and onions and sunflowers and cantaloupes and oranges and soybeans. In fact, this may be kind of hard for you to understand, boys and girls. Look at this picture of an apple orchard. And each one of these trees is covered with thousands of flowers. And every one of those flowers, if a bee lands on it and drinks the nectar and pollinates that flower will then be fertilized, and guess what each flower will turn into? An apple or an orange. You know, in fact, this might be kind of hard to believe, but check this out. This is an apple flower. So here's the part of the branch right here. The branch is coming up, and there's this little flower right there, and it's got some petals on it, and it's got some stamens and pistils. When a bee lands on that flower turns in. Next time you see an apple, and it's got a stem, and then it's got this part here, and you cut that apple open, inside of that apple is where the seeds are. But if you turn that apple upside down, this part right here was the top of the pistil, just like we drew, and the stamens used to be here, and the petals used to be here. An apple is what's left over from the flower being pollinated. An orange, a banana, an almond, all of those are because of pollinators. Now, other things pollinate. For example, we will talk about bees, but you know, a mammal can pollinate. At night, when sunflowers open up, a moth can pollinate, even an ant, or in some places a bird. Pollination is moving the pollen from the stamen to the pistil. That's when fertilization occurs, and that's when seed development occurs. Now, let's see, the wind does it a lot, so we could blow on our flowers. That won't work. We could get monkeys to come in. No, that won't work. Birds, no. I know what. Let's use bees. Hey, nature's been using it for millions of generations. Why can't we? So I brought some bees today, and we're going to make a bee stick pollinator. So I came up with this idea that if bees are such good pollinators, you know, they fly around and they smell the nectar and like, what's your name?
Jellicle.
If you were a flower, they'll land on you and they go, oh, drink, 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 and they get pollen all over them. Then they fly, what's your name?
Alex.
They fly to the next flower and get pollen all over them. In fact, a bee will visit over 1,000 flowers in one day, getting the nectar that they take back to make honey, and getting covered in pollen to pollinate the flowers, okay? So you guys, help me out here. Take your finger, all you guys are bees, all right? Land on the flower. Come on, get your fingers on there. Come on, and now come over here and land on here. Ah, thanks. I needed that. I just been pollinated. Thank you, bees. Go about your business. So the bees land on the flower to drink the nectar and move pollen from one flower to the next. So why not use real bees? All right. So here's what we're going to do. Get 5 of these for each one in your classroom. Take one and pass around. Everybody gets 5 of those. Here's a piece of felt for your classroom. There you go. Piece of felt. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And everybody have a stick. You have 5 sticks each. Here's some more sticks. Everybody have a piece of felt. When you get back to your room, we're going to cut, look here, one small piece of felt like that. All right. And here's what I have here. Check this out. Check this out. This is, these bees, here's my bees. They're honey bees, and they are dead, but you know what? That's I didn't kill these bees. I got these from a scientist friend of mine, and these bees, there's wings and legs, and they're kind of hairy, and nature has made it so that, I think they're kind of cool, that they are perfect for landing on flowers and getting covered in pollen. So we're going to make a bee pollinator, all right? All right, so you'll need, each group will need 1 stick, 1 small piece of wool, and a bee. And I have some stickers too, because, you know, why not have stickers? We can have some fun with stickers. Why not have some bee stickers, okay? So let me pass this out, and when you get back to your room, we'll make these.